Yes, Raja, we are live now.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, Surosh. Hey, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. So this is the information session for the Large Language Models Bootcamp. Um, and what we will do here is we'll first go over the curriculum, a general idea, what to expect in the bootcamp, what are the bootcamp features, what are the topics that are covered. And uh, and the teaching philosophy, most importantly, what the bootcamp is and what it is not. And then beyond that, I will show you an overview of our learning platform. We have built a very, I think we are proud of what we have built in terms of the curriculum, in terms of the learning resources that we have, in terms of the partnerships and the instructors that we have gathered for the bootcamp. I'm going to go over all of that, and then and we will take any questions. For those of you who are joining through Zoom, please post your questions in the Zoom Q&A, and then I will take them as appropriate. I will occasionally pause to take questions if they are fitting in the flow of the presentation, and if not, I'm going to take them at the end. Feel free to post your questions as they happen. So let's get started. We have been around. We are one of the oldest players when it comes to machine learning, analytics, data science, and now large language models training. And we are not, what makes us different is that we are not purely a training company. Many companies they are purely in the business of training. And what that does is, the people who are teaching the curriculum that is created, it is out of touch from realities of what is happening on the ground. We are we have been building products. We have been providing services to businesses and companies, 50, $100 billion market cap companies, global organization, nonprofits. So we have a large portfolio of customers when it comes to services, and now we have also have a product on the large language models application side, and then on the training side, the numbers that you see, we are actually, in terms of impact, in terms of number of people who have graduated, by far we have the biggest footprint on the planet, right? So many other companies, and MOOCs are there, self-paced courses are there, but we know how they go. Most people who start do not finish the course. But these are actually 11,000 graduates in terms of all of our enterprise trainings, in terms of our public boot camps, virtual trainings, and so on. But all of these people actually finish the course. And then 3,000 plus global companies represented in our trainings and 150 countries. And we are, in terms of large language models bootcamp, we are the only bootcamp right now in the world. As the last I checked, there is no other bootcamp that is covering like this. You can call it a bootcamp, but if it is like a 4-hour, 6-hour, 8-hour training, that's not technically a bootcamp. The training that I'm going to talk about, it is large language models bootcamp, which is an intensive, immersive 40-hour experience, and quite intense. But by the end of it, most people are going to be in a position to actually build large language model applications. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. So how did the bootcamp actually start? So the story of the bootcamp actually goes back to early last year, as ChatGPT and OpenAI, they started to gain popularity. Maybe a few months before that, there was this hype about conversational agents and summarization. ChatGPT, we found it to be amazing. Like, I can craft a message, I can craft a blog, I can create a social media post, I can write code, all of that. Then naturally customers started coming to us, and we started building these products. And once we started building actual enterprise products, and I'm talking about actual products, I'm not talking about writing a simple blog post. I'm talking not talking about and write an email or things like that. I'm talking about actual scenarios where there was a real business impact. Whatever output LLM gives, it has an impact on the business directly. So when we started building those uh, products, we realized that building LLM applications is much more than just enterprise, much more than just ChatGPT. When you're dealing with enterprise data, you have to worry about the indexing cost, the token usage, and other costs. So, for on an enterprise data set, the the cost of a solution actually goes out of control. It spins out of control very quickly. Then your documents. We have customers who have uploaded within the first few days 400,000, 500,000 documents uploaded, right? And now the documents may or may not be able to fit in the context window, right? So the attention span of the model. How do you deal with that? Then there are regulatory challenges, right? So what if, real example, one of our customers who's using our LLM application, so they asked us this question: what if the bot gives a wrong answer? Who's going to be liable? This is a real example, right? So, and then there are other examples in industry that you have talked about. You must have read about. But there are regulatory challenges. There's what if your proprietary data gets leaked? Whether your application is a real-time application or if some latency in inference is okay. Because I mean, if you look at it, you want your model to be accurate, low cost, and giving answers very quickly. How do you decide this trade-off between the cost and the latency and the accuracy? Then there are data governance issues, right? So data and AI governance issues, whether you use open source model or closed source models, inherently by design, LLMs are not reproducible, right? So the responses are not reproducible because of the nature of things, right? So hallucination, how do you eliminate or mitigate? I mean, so you cannot eliminate hallucinations, but how can you minimize them or minimize the impact? How do you put those guardrails around it? Then how do you actually update the knowledge? How do you evaluate? In case of a traditional classic machine learning model, yes, I mean, I can evaluate. I can evaluate. I have a test data set. This is a fraud prediction. This was a fraud. This wasn't a fraud. Correct, wrong. And I calculate the accuracy or precision or recall or false positive rate or true positive rate. How do you evaluate the response? How do you evaluate maybe different order of words? The meaning is the same. Choice of words is different. I strolled in the park. I walked in the park. Is this the same response or a different response, right? So prompts are brittle, right? So prompts, the way you actually coach the models, how you give them instructions, the more time you spend on building enterprise applications using LLMs, you realize that there is this a lot of hype around it, but there is a lot of discipline, a lot of attention to detail that is needed when building large language model applications. And we thought that, well, whatever we are doing, and we have gathered this hands-on experience, we decided to launch the very first bootcamp in the world on large language models. And I will walk you through the curriculum. I will give you a complete idea of our entire curriculum. So you can see it's a very, very well thought out curriculum that we have built. And I will give you an overview of the learning tools and everything that we are doing for the bootcamp. Okay, so let me very quickly go over as I said, the bootcamp is about teaching you how to build large language model applications. The curriculum has been designed by practitioners. We are covering all the mainstream tools and libraries. I should not say all of them. It's not possible in 40 hours, but most of the mainstream tools and libraries that matter, and the philosophy behind the tools, such that if there is, you go back and decide to use a different tool, you understand why we actually, what the fundamental reason is. And I will explain what that means in a bit. We have hands-on exercises, right? So we have exercises, pretty much everything that we do, we learn and we practice, and we learn and we practice, and this is what we do. And at the end of the week, the 5-day boot camp, daily 8 to 9 hours of training. And at the end of the boot camp, we go and build a project, build an LLM application with support, and we provide you full support. And then if you look at this here, we provide up to, and this is up to $500 US dollars credit for all software and cloud services needed. So when you're building an LLM application, there is cost around token usage, when you and indexing of documents, building the search index, the GPU costs. If you're fine-tuning a model, we'll show you, we have a fine-tuning exercise, then you need a GPU cluster. Then you have other exercises. You do not have to worry about any of the subscriptions. Even for the project, we give you virtual machines that have everything installed. So we want to make it easy. We do not want to we don't want the learners to be actually fiddling with account creation and putting in their credit card numbers and all of that. So when you register, you don't have to just bring in a laptop and that's it, right? So you don't have to worry about installing any piece of software, etc. We actually take care of everything for you. And then we have guest talks with real case studies from industry. Then we have discussion. For those of you who have been in industry for some time, you probably can relate to it. Some of the younger engineers, they actually don't realize that at the end of the day, machine learning and predictive modeling and analytics and software development, all of them, at the end of the day, the goal is to build a product that adds business value. When you build a product, there are business challenges, there are cultural challenges, there are architectural challenges, and then it is not only about writing code as fast as possible. So we have a lot of interesting anecdotes from our own experience from building the product, how we built a product in LLM application that we have paying customers for. I mean, sizable B2B product that we have built. And then we have paying customers. What kind of challenges, internal challenges, upskilling challenges and architectural challenges and technical debt challenges, what kind of customer expectation challenges, gathering customer requirement challenges and building a product while you have customers who are adopting. So we have a lot of interesting anecdotes and war stories from the trenches that we are going to be sharing. That makes it a very practical and very relevant bootcamp because, well, there are no textbooks that are talking about it. For software engineering, you have best practices, maybe machine learning now, there are best practices. But for large language model applications, what are some of the considerations? There are no textbooks, right? So it is all practical experience that we are going to be sharing very happily with all of you. So let me see. So we are going to get started with, let's go over. Let me first go through the presentation, then I will go to this part of the presentation, and then I will go back to the curriculum overview. So let's actually look at it, right? So if you look at this, so think of this as the LLM ecosystem. By no means this is a complete illustration, but think about this, that you have some open source and some closed source models that you need for building an LLM application. And so OpenAI and Anthropic being an example, then you have closed source models that are Llama, Llama 2 and Llama 3 and, many other models. Then you have these cloud providers where you can deploy and use these models as a service. Now, you also need to have a vector database because most of the applications that you're going to build primarily they will rely on a vector database, right? So and call it maybe a search engine on steroids. I will explain to the best of my ability what this is. But there is the idea of semantic search. There is an idea of keyword search. There is an idea of hybrid search. So all of that, that is necessary to understand. We have quite a bit of time that we allocate. I'm sorry, I will keep it a bit more static. So we spend quite a bit of time on vector databases, about 4 to 5 hours in the entire curriculum. And then we will be referring back to those. So directly in one module, we talk about vector databases, but we keep referring back to them situationally very often. Then, using the embedding models, and then most importantly, the orchestration frameworks. How do you actually build an app and then do all the plumbing? So we have LangChain and Llama Index. They are partners in delivery of the bootcamp. Then we have the concept of LLM cache or semantic cache. We talk about that as well. There is how do you log all the requests and responses and whatever is happening in your LLM ecosystem. How do you actually, put this logging and observability framework around your LLM application? Then there is this idea of guardrails, right? So how do you put in guardrails? So it does not accept any prompt, or it does not accept a query and rejects a query. Your application should reject a query that is against your organizational policies, or perhaps if it accepted the query, if the response is not acceptable, it can actually snub those queries. Then there is, a lot of other things. I mean, where do you deploy these models and so on? We actually cover this entire ecosystem in a lot of detail. And I will show you what I mean in a moment. I will just show you in a bit. Let's go to the next one. Let me go to the curriculum overview. We do not expect any prerequisites. You would be actually surprised. Some people ask, hey, I'm not a machine learning person, right? So I've not done machine learning in the past. Can I take it? So let me reveal this to you if you don't know already. 96% of LLM application building is your traditional software engineering and data engineering. It has very yes, it has to do with some of the more modern vector databases and LLM and AI application ideas, but majority of it is actually your software engineering, of course, in the context of AI and machine learning. So really what we are expecting is that you have working knowledge of any programming language. Python is preferred, and then we can take care of the rest for you. The technology stack that we use as of the last bootcamp, let me just double check here. So, we use some of the foundation models. Symbol AI is a partner. We use their conversational model. Llama 2, we use Llama 2 for our fine-tuning exercise, open source model that we use for fine-tuning exercise. Then we use Hugging Face embeddings for some exercises, and OpenAI we use it quite frequently for many of the exercises. In vector databases, we use some of these databases, but mainly our vector database session, it is primarily around VB8, which is one of the top, vector databases in industry at the moment. We have quite in-depth discussion on LangChain. And then last bootcamp, we had Jerry Liu from Llama Index. He talked about agentic RAG. So we talk about both. Then we have on the deployment side of observability and LLM ops and guardrail side, we have iLabs. And RunPod actually provides all attendees with GPU clusters for free. That is part of, that when you register. So for your fine-tuning exercises, we have RunPod, and then we have Azure AI Studio and so on. For prompt flow rather. So that is there. And then for basically for deployment, we use Hugging Face, a combination of Hugging Face and Streamlit. We'll show you how to build your application on the last day of the bootcamp. You will build this application, and then you will leave with a deployed application on your own web URL, and no deeper coding or web development experience required. I mean, we have figured out a very interesting way of doing things. So let me actually bring up our learning platform and show it to you. So if you look at this here, so for instance, right, so when you sign up, you will get access to our learning platform. And in this learning platform, what we have done is we have built in our coding exercises in a manner that you don't have to worry about all the dependencies. Let me actually see here. Okay, I will need this OpenAI key. So for instance, right, so the way this is going to work is um, we are going to actually talk about, let me just bear with me for a moment. Okay. So for instance, we started LangChain, right? So we will talk about, well, Model IO, right? So, and when we talk about Model IO, we are going to go and, once we have talked about why do you need this, how do you go about, why LangChain, why do you need, for instance, why do you need prompt templates? Why do you need example selectors? Why do you need, different kind of functionalities, right? So, and then once we are done with this, you click on everyone has their own dedicated URL. If you look at this, my URL actually says user/Raja. So this is persistent notebooks that are going to be available for you even after the bootcamp. So you can always, so biggest challenge for people, the biggest challenge that people have is, how do I practice? I can see this code here in LangChain documentation. I can see this code here on Stack Overflow. I can see this code in a blog. How do I actually implement? I don't know how to install all the dependencies. I don't have all the versioning of LangChain correct and so on. Well, we have taken care of it for you. So you log into the learning platform with your own credentials. You click on it. Well, that lab comes up. And then now run. You will start running this. And when you run this, now it is asking for a key. We will provide you with the key. We give you the key. And you go and run these exercises. You can see that, whatever this exercise is, we explain what this response means and so on. Then we go on to talk about, well, what are the different kinds of retrievals that are available, right? So, and then once again, we have talked about it, you can have different kind of loaders, different kind of splitters, different kind of vector stores, different kind of pretty much anything, right? A different kind of retrievers. We talk about all that data IO type operations here. We go to chains. Excuse me. So if I click on chains, for instance, right? So in this case, we talk about the rationale for chains. Why do we need chains? And then once we have explained it, now let's go and run, this simple piece of code with two chains, right? So in this case, the first link in the chain is, well, I'm saying, your job is to come up with a classic dish from the area that user suggests, right? So there is this user location. And then I'm saying chain it with, once the user has, once you have come up with a dish based on the user input, come up with the meal that, or the recipe that was, or rather the dish that was suggested, come up with a recipe, right? And then I'm going to run this for, let's say, I don't know. What should I do? London, right? So let me go to London here. So I will run it for London, and you can see that first it is going to come up with classic dish from London, and you can see fish and chips is a classic dish from London. That this traditional. So it goes through this, and then in the second part of the chain, it is going to once again, and we will explain all of this, the mechanics of this, and it will be a build up. Just this module takes us about 8 hours to finish. It's one of the like six-ish hours, 6 to 8 hours, depending upon the engagement. And now we talk about different kinds of chains. Sometimes you want to, based on the query, you want one LLM to answer or one chain, one link to answer. So we will talk about router chains. We will talk about many other types of chains, summarization chain. We'll talk about map reduce chain. We will talk about refinement or refined chain. I guess that is what is called. It is called, and then so on. Right. We will talk about memory, and I can of course go through all of this. Memory is when you want to build this. You want the model to give you an answer based on the history of your conversation, as opposed to taking each of them as an output or each of them as an isolated input. Then we'll talk about agents. How do you build multi-agent systems, and so on. So it's a very extensive module just for LangChain. I wanted to show you, basically how the hands-on part works. For the rest of the LLM bootcamp, you can see we start with the basics, right? We will start with embeddings. We'll start with explaining to you the historical evolution of embeddings, right? So we started, there was a time we started with one hot encoding, then count-based, then, TF, IDF, we'll talk about n-grams, unigram, bigram, and so on. We will talk, and hands-on exercises for all of this. Anything that I mentioned, it has practical exercises. Happy to show you if anyone has any questions. Then we talk about, moving from TF-IDF, which was primarily a keyword type matching, moving to word-to-vec, continuous bag of words, and so on. Moving from that all the way to more modern attention mechanism based embeddings. And then each of them will have their own exercises. Of course, we cannot finish all the exercises in class. Some exercises are going to happen in class. Others are going to happen at your own pace later. Let me show you this, maybe some more details. When we talk about vector databases, I don't know if I have the slides here. Let me see. Yes, we do have the slides. So if you look at this, so this particular module is actually taught by Zen from VV8. He's an expert in vector databases. So, you can see all the material, all the course material, practical exercises, everything you have access to it in the learning platform. So you can see we are talking about, explaining what a vector database is, comparing it with the SQL database, giving these, real world analogies, what does it mean? What does semantic search mean? What does hybrid search mean? And so on. Of course, there is so many things that we can do here. You can see there is vector searches, there's keyword and hybrid searches. So we actually spend a lot of time going through the details of different ideas. And this is one of my favorite modules. Actually, this is done extensively, that you understand why is there so much buzz around vector databases and so on. And then once that is done, everyone, we are going to, if you look at this, we will have exercises on basic vector search. Then we'll have exercises on similarity search, hybrid search, which is a combination of both your traditional keyword and vector search. Then we talk about vector compression. As your vector index grows, how do you compress vectors, product quantization, and all of that. Then we talk about generative search and multi-tenancy, right? So all of these exercises are done in class. lot of work, right? So a lot of material by no stretch of imagination, right? So I know that there are courses out there, right? So a 1 hour course on vector databases, and a 2 hour course on LangChain, maybe 1 hour course on embeddings. Well, they may give us some foundation, but our intent here is to convert you into a practitioner. If you leave without the basic ability to actually understand and build, do this plumbing, that's not what we want, right? You can see that there are so many exercises, and as we have more opportunity. So, for instance, we did a boot camp at Microsoft a month ago. They wanted the bootcamp to be on the Microsoft stack. Well, very well, we did it, and then now the all the Microsoft stack exercises are also there, right? So Azure AI Search, you can see that we have all these exercises already there. Now, let me see. We talk about prompt engineering. We talk about fine tuning as well, right? So we'll even though most of the boot camp will be talking about retrieval augmented generation (RAG), popularly known as RAG, but we will also get into fine tuning. And the way we will do fine tuning is we are going to actually give you, everyone will get their own GPU cluster thanks to RunPod. They are a partner. So RunPod has provided us these GPU clusters. So we'll give you the GPU clusters, and then we'll give you a code that to modify a Llama to 7 billion parameter, a 4-bit quantized model. Before we actually even go there, we are going to talk about, well, what is fine tuning? How is fine tuning done? How does it impact the weights? Then we talk about different techniques for fine tuning. There are different approaches to fine tuning. How do you make it more parameter efficient? Right? We'll talk about quantization. We'll explain the idea of quantization. We'll talk about the idea of low rank adaptation. And it's not just hand waving. We'll explain to you what does a low rank representation of a model mean. We'll talk about what does QLoRa. So there is low rank adaptation, commonly known as LoRa. Then there is QLoRa, which is quantized LoRa. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll explain pretty much all of these aspects. And then once we have done that, we are going to go ahead and explain. We are going to go ahead and show you how to fine tune a model. So we'll give you a piece of code that is for fine tuning. We'll give you access to a published Llama a data source and a Llama 2 model. And we'll show you how to fine tune a model. And then you're going to compare the two models and see how they differ in responses. And once you have fine tuned the model, then we are going to actually talk about the evaluation of models, right? So we are going to talk about evaluation of large language models. So when you look at evaluation of large language models, we will start with the traditional NLP type approaches, starting with your blue score and rouge score, and slowly going toward more. So the traditional techniques were used. The traditional approaches were more focused on translation, but now we are looking at more the LLM responses and semantic approaches. Those approaches more focused on the keyword. So once again, everything that we talk about will start with the traditional approaches, and slowly, so you can appreciate the improvement. So we'll slowly go from blue score and rouge score and meteor, and then going more towards a bird score. And then after that, bird score is a sort of a semantic technique, and then we'll go to a GPT eval. So basically one LLM evaluating another LLM. And then once that is done, we'll go to some of the more modern techniques like Ragus. Ragus is an open source library that actually specifically has some evaluation metrics and evaluation approaches in the context of RAG. So we are going to go back and really compare, okay, so this is the response and this is the response. So we are going to actually look at all of this in action. Let me click on this, the Ragas library. I won't be able to run it, of course. I mean, in the interest of time, I cannot. But if you look at this right here, once again, we are showing you, generating a test set for the Ragas. We are showing you how to, and by now you already know what embeddings are. By now you already know what a vector store is. So when you look at this, this is all actually showing you, and by now you already know what a prompt template is. You know what RAG is by now, and you know what a chain is. So you see how we slowly build up. Once again, right? So I will repeat, right? So there are many courses out there, but this course has been improving. We started back in September or August last year. The course has been constantly being updated. It has been very, very frequently. Ragas was added. So we added two things: agentic RAG, multi-agent, and Ragas last time. So as new things come up that we are learning and we are incorporating in our actual LLM applications, we incorporate those in our trainings as well. We enjoy it and we share the joy with everyone who's learning. I'm one of the instructors myself, by the way, if those of you don't know. And now if you look at this, we are evaluating the model. If you look at this, viewing evaluation results, visualizing your evaluation metrics, there are 4 metrics primarily that we talk about. There's context precision, context recall, faithfulness, and answer relevancy. We talk about, explain why we are talking about all of these in a lot of detail. Okay. Let me see. What else? And I know there are some questions that we will be talking about. I will be addressing the question, but please bear with me. Then we will be, in case I missed anything here, let me see, because there is a lot of modules, and we will be also talking about, we have this a 2 to 3 hour session just on lessons learned while building an LLM application. For those of you, if you are a founder, if you're a startup, if you're a product manager working on LLM products, if you are an architect, we will have a lot of interesting discussions, right? So, we will, we'll proudly show you our wounds, right? So we have had so many things that we did incorrectly. We'll tell you, why we thought it was done incorrectly, and then we'll tell you how it was done correctly eventually. Let me see. I mean, I'm trying to see if I did not miss anything here. On the last day, I think I missed one session here, right? So there is this session by one of our partners, Y-Labs. So Y-Labs is an observability and LLM ops platform. So they will talk about, how do you put in, an observability framework around, and the need, of course, rationale for this. How do you put an observability framework around your LLM application? Then how do you put guardrails around it? And then what are some of the challenges, that you have to keep in mind when building an enterprise LLM application? We will be actually talking about RAG in a lot of detail. We'll talk about advanced RAG as well, and a lot of nuances, a lot of product management challenges. So think of this as a course for practitioners. This is not a theory course. This is a course for practitioners. And can someone who's not an active coder, can they attend it? Well, the way this is set up is, even if you're not a coder, if you can read code, you can be a product manager. We are, by the way, hiring a product manager, and I'm having a hard time actually hiring a product manager for the product that we have, because you can find a product manager, you can find a good product manager, but the problem is, for LLM products, it is true with any technical product, but in this case, the the amount of learning and the amount of experience, the amount of the maturity that we need from someone for these trade-offs, you know, we need a deeply technical product manager. Why am I saying this? I actually think that if you're a product manager in tech industry, if you're a technical product manager, I think that very soon, if not already, there is going to be a serious dearth of good technical product managers who understand LLM applications. It's one of the best times to be actually a technical product manager in LLM space. So this is a good time to actually pivot your career. So if you're already TPM, learn the fundamentals of LLM and build on top of it. And then I believe I will not hire for our product. I'm not going to hire any product manager who actually does not understand vector databases inside out, does not understand the implications of chunking and augmentation of chunking and the cost of chunking, does not understand the various trade-offs between different kinds of models, does not understand the pricing and different services, and not able to make any decisions between different services going open source or um, going with a deployed service. So let me actually pause here. I know that we have gathered a lot of questions here. So let me go in the Q&A tab and okay, Ahmad. Okay. Thank you for the session. Is it also covering the online LLM bootcamp? Yes. So the online LLM bootcamp is the way it is that it is the same bootcamp. And then we have some people who are in attendance in person, and there are some people who are attending the bootcamp online. The reason, after a lot of reluctance, we decided that we will selectively allow people to actually attend the bootcamp online as well. Because, I mean, sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours or 9 hours, it is going to be hard. But I mean, we had great success. Actually, in the last bootcamp, we had 11 people in person and 14 people attending remotely, and they did just fine. But if you're planning to register online, please let us know. And we want to make sure that we clear the expectations. I think our biggest concern would be is, are you able to sit in front of a computer? It is intense. It is actually intense. And then would you be able to focus? And there is if you are able to travel to Seattle, I would strongly recommend that you attend the bootcamp in person. The reason being, I mean, from our standpoint, it does not matter, right? We get the same. We get actually, if you show up in person, maybe it may be actually, we have a capacity for in person. Online, there's no upper limit, right? But learning in a classroom, there's some magic to it, right? So because when you learn in person, you start in the morning, you're having breakfast together, you're talking about things, you're making friends, you're building your network. And then you are also actually during the breaks or during the lunch, during dinner, you're basically actually talking to each other, and there is a lot of interesting things that you learn from each other that may not be actually part of the training itself, because there is a lot of other things that are going on in the ecosystem. So if you can travel to Seattle, I would strongly encourage. I mean, I personally encourage, but as I said, I mean, well, you are a customer. It's your call. It doesn't make a difference to us from a cost standpoint. But if I have to recommend, in person is it is an amazing experience. People actually love the experience. And then there was one guy who wanted to attend online. I convinced him to come in person, and he was very grateful. He said, I'm really happy that I was able to make it because the in-person experience. And it doesn't mean that online is not that great. Online is also the greatest experience, but the in-person has, something that, you don't want to miss. Okay. Let me see. Will the bootcamp focus on business application use cases of LLMs? Absolutely, right? So we are going to focus a lot on business applications, and a lot of it around, AI governance and data governance and cost, and, what are the use cases, when to use what are the use cases that we have seen in sales and marketing and legal, and, we have seen people, using these for proposal writing. People are using in marketing, blog writing, newsletters. We have seen in legal, our actual customers, they are using it for as paralegal, right? So they are using these agents as for redlining of contracts, and we have built those things for our customers. And then, Ahmed, again, your question. Okay, you have a lot of questions, actually. As a matter of fact, all the questions, let me actually take them. In the online bootcamp, how can you ensure that the best support is provided to handle all issues such as troubleshooting queries? Is there support after the session? What if someone has, for example, a code that does not run and he's left behind in the material, right? So, Ahmed, this is exactly why we have these online Jupyter notebooks, because we run and rerun these labs and test these labs so you don't run into these issues. But if you pick some code while we are training, and if you pick some code from Stack Overflow, of course we are not going to break the continuity of class and help you debug, right? So you do understand, right? So because it is an intense and audacious, ambitious curriculum, so we expect that you will be running this code, and there's plenty of code. You don't need to go anywhere, right? So we have hundreds of code samples. And then as long as you are following this, we are there to help. We have multiple people, support staff online. We have a Discord channel, internal Discord forum. People ask questions. And also the online people, last time, if I told you the truth, I mean, the online people some of the online people were far more active in asking live questions. So we have in class, we have an in-class setup where the online folks, they can see everyone in the class. The setup is when someone is speaking, the context switches, and then the camera zooms on them. So we try to provide the best experience possible. So we try to provide the best support to the best of our ability. Is there support after the session? Depends what kind of support you're looking for. Unfortunately, what happens is that sometimes some people, they expect that we are going to help them after the boot camp in their own day-to-day work involving LLMs. And we are a learning company. Of course, we have limited resources. We will not be able to actually help you with your maybe sometimes people are consultants and they would expect us to solve their problems for them. So we cannot, right? But yes, I mean, largely, we are there if any of the code samples that we have provided, if that doesn't work, you will reach out. We are going to look into it. It never happens because these actually go through multiple rounds of testing. And then we have a very mature framework here for installing and testing these. So but we are there to help you, right? Will the slides for the information session be shared? Yes. Please reach out. I think there is a link where you can request this. What will remain with us after the end of the bootcamp? Material coding exercises, all of that for up to 1 year or for 1 year after you attend the bootcamp. I'm legally required to actually give you 1 year. We have never discontinued anyone, but contractually, we tell people that it is going to be 1 year, even though, I mean, people who attended our boot camps 5-6 years ago, they still have access to the learning platform because it's an infrastructure that people, I mean, it's a cost, minor cost to us, but we value our customers a lot. But or to clarify, we also give people OpenAI keys during the boot camp, but those keys are revoked at the end of the boot camp because we cannot actually indefinitely bear the cost of your OpenAI usage. The GPU cluster that we give you, that again is going to be actually um, on the last day of the bootcamp. That access is also revoked because there is a substantial cost. We will go bankrupt just if one customer decides to use these resources open-endedly. Let me see. There is more question. I think there is question. Let me go because there is some questions in Q&A and some questions are in chat. So let me see. Will we be able to download the recording after the end? So this is question from Michael. Michael, you should be able to see this recording. I believe we post this on both YouTube and LinkedIn. Please email me a copy of this recording. My sound is not working. Jolene, right? So Jolene, please fill out a form that I think we shared it somewhere. We'll share a copy of this slide deck, and I will share the link with you. Can you please confirm prerequisites for each layer, which will be deciding factor for enrolling? You just need Python. And if you, and even Python, if you have been working in industry, if you understand data and all of that, and you can code in at least one language, you will be fine. To build this locally without using API, will Camp cover how to set up PC GPU for best optimization setup for using PC? Charles, I'm not sure what you mean here. Please set up a call with us because I don't want to say yes for something, but you do understand that you may have some very specific needs. But setting up your GPU for local and best optimization, that's more of a consulting project for us. That's not really, and not that I'm willing to take that consulting project, but that's a fairly open-ended thing. It might take us 1 hour, 8 hours, 16 hours. But I can tell you that we are going to teach you a lot of things, but not everything, right? So, and we'll talk about all of those things. Please feel free to reach out if, and someone will be happy to actually explain it to you. Can we access the learning platform? Yes, you can, but this is only upon registration because pretty much all the material is there. So we cannot actually grant access to the learning platform without registration. Let me see, Sridhanya. But it looks like an online course. So we can't access now means we can't purchase now, right? So online does not mean self-paced. It is online, but you're going to be live. So you cannot purchase access to a self-paced course. This is not a self-paced course. Online means that you will be attending remotely with the people who are sitting in the classroom at the same time. Saurabh, how are you planning to details to explain the components and to what depth? Since these are kind of plug and play, but not talking about variation. So, Saurabh, these are. I'm assuming you're yes, I mean, many of these things. Isn't that how all software is? Isn't JavaScript plug and play? Isn't Python Django, Node? LangChain, pretty much everything. Open source is plug and play. But what will teach you is, it's almost like, I mean, you're in India, but we have this the store, right? So in US called Home Depot, right? So I can go to Home Depot and find the best chainsaw, and I can find the best, hammer, and I can find, the best tools. But in reality, if not, I'm not a skilled workman or work person, I will not be able to use these tools efficiently. So we will teach you the art of using these. I agree, all of these are plug and play. But if this was so plug and play, then why doesn't everyone have like awesome, amazing LLM applications running? Because there is some experience and some thinking process that goes behind the scenes in building these applications. Okay, so we will teach that wisdom. We'll try to impart that wisdom. I mean, let me take it back. You cannot teach anyone wisdom, right? So we'll impart that wisdom. We'll share that experience, and we'll tell you what worked for us, what didn't work for us, where did we succeed, where did we fail, where did we get hurt badly. A lot of interesting stories from real customers. Rakesh, how to access all these resources? Once you attend the bootcamp, you will have access to all the resources. Any discount for people from India? So unfortunately, I mean, the all of our operations are in most of our operations, let me put it this way, most of our operations are, I mean, the instructors are here. So our cost is actually, cost structure is based in the US. Like, I mean, you can see the people who are teaching, they are one of the top people in industry. So I wish I could do something about it. Please reach out and we will see, what we can do. Then will there be a recording for later? Yes, we do keep recordings for later, so for later consumption. Let me see for the LLM course. I saw it is coming soon. When will it be launched? Because I don't have money for the bootcamp. I am not sure what you mean by this, Heldi, because because I mean, there is a substantial cost of delivering this course. I wish we could offer it free, but I mean, we have to, we also have payroll that we need to run. So I don't know what we can do about it, right? Okay, Jonathan, your question broadly, how immediate and broad has been the impact of LLMs in the legal field? You called it out specifically because one of the customers actually, so it was an enterprise customer, and their legal team was actually using it. So the scenario was basically, right now, I mean, there's many more scenarios, Jonathan. I mean, if you set up a call, I'm happy to actually walk you through some of the scenarios. I'm assuming you are in legal profession. But the most common scenario, or the scenario that we have dealt with is um, uh, basically comparing. So let's say I have a template for a master services agreement or an NDA, and I have maybe a client sends an NDA, or a client sends their own template. And now what we were able to accomplish with them is that it was sort of like redlining and adding comments. So this is the baseline, this is the new agreement. Can you tell me how we should align this agreement with our best practices? And it did a remarkable job actually in doing that. Omega, so the exact dates, I believe they are published on the website. If I'm not wrong, it is from August 3rd to, let me go there. So because I've been asked about dates repeatedly, frankly, I do not remember what the dates are. But if you go here, August 19th to 23rd, right? So this is, the date when we'll be offering our next boot camp. Where were we? Okay, what else? Okay, I'm done with these questions here. Okay, yes, price for online and in class is the same. Ahmed, that is your question. That is correct, because that's how it works. Because online is not self-paced; it is still we are still supporting and answering questions and all of that. Okay, let me see. I think maybe some part of the presentation was missing. Let me go and bring up the remaining part of the presentation. So I've gone through the entire curriculum. I don't need to go through these slides again. I think I did mention we have a project at the end of the bootcamp. You will be provided all the resources, code samples, etc., to put together an LLM basic LLM application on your own. This last bootcamp, we had a bunch of instructors. The instructors, they keep changing based on availability. This was our set of instructors for the last bootcamp. In the past, we have had other instructors as well. So, getting on the calendar of these peoples, because these people are the top people in industry. So, so getting on their calendars and making sure that they are available. So this keeps changing. The complete list of past and present instructors is on the website. Please take a look. And this is our partners, right? So these are our partners who have been collaborating with us, and they have good things to say about the bootcamp. And these are our customers and the companies that have been represented, right? So we have had people coming from as far as Australia, flying all the way so we have had people coming from Europe, people coming from Australia, people from Middle East, Saudi Arabia. They have traveled to us to attend the boot camp, and definitely coming from Canada and within the US, that is already from South America, Brazil, Mexico. We have had people travel all the way. So these are only some of the companies that have actually attended our boot camp right now. These are verified real logos. I mean, it's not just, we are not just pretending that these people have attended our training or these companies. We have someone from each of these companies who have attended our training. The next one is in Seattle, August 19th, 8 a.m., 8:30-ish, when we start, to 5 p.m. and online the same time, 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. And that is pretty much it. Let me see if there are any other questions. Last call. If there are any questions, I am happy to answer. If not, please feel free to reach out to us, and we are happy to help you guide or help you learn about how to make a decision, right? So one of the distinguishing features in our sales calls is that in some cases we have told people maybe you don't need this boot camp, right? So I mean, they are not really sales calls. I mean, think of those as more of advisor and mentoring calls. Happy to actually help you make decision if this boot camp is the right boot camp for you or not. Let us know if we can be of any help. But otherwise, if there are no questions, I am going to call it a day. Sounds good. Thank you, everyone. And I hope we'll see some of you at the bootcamp. Thanks.